Alright, let's start with just going over some of the tips on shooting a panorama. So to begin with, when you're getting ready to shoot your panorama, you want to make sure that you set your exposure to an average for the scene. Because once you set your exposure, you don't want it to change. And also, make sure that you got your aperture closed down about as far as it'll go, if not all the way closed, to like f/22. Okay, so meter the entire scene for your panorama and then set your exposure at an average with your aperture closed down. Don't change your exposure, because if you vary your exposure from shot to shot, then your images just won't go together very well, or it's going to take extra work, which you don't want to do. Put your focal length on 18 and leave it there. Okay, so just like with exposure, you don't want it to change as you go from one picture to the next, because then things won't line up, your pictures won't match, and it won't go very well. And it works best if you're shooting your panorama with a wide angle. So 18 millimeters is what you should set your lens at. Focus about 1/3 into the scene. So with a large depth of field, you should be getting pretty much everything from pretty close up all the way to infinity. Should pretty much be in focus. But it'll help if you're actually setting your focus about a third of the way into your scene, and then set the lens to manual focus, so that as you take each picture, your focus won't change. You don't want the autofocus to be trying to readjust focus as you shoot, for the same reasons as setting your exposure and for setting your focal length on your lens. Okay, shoot vertically for a horizontal panorama, and that's because you want to have extra space top and bottom of your picture for having some play with the picture, so that you can make adjustments, and it just goes together much better if you're shooting your panorama with vertical frames. Rotate on the nodal point of the lens. As best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer you are to rotating on the lens as opposed to rotating on your body, the better. Because when you rotate on the nodal point of the lens, or just rotate over the middle of the lens, basically, there will be less distortion in the picture, and it'll make it easier when it comes time to line up your pictures. So do the best you can on that, and keep the camera as level as possible. You don't want it to be pointing down. You don't want it to be pointing up. So try to keep your camera as level as possible. And overlap your pictures by at least 2/3. When it comes time to putting your pictures together in Photoshop, you're only going to be using the middle third of every picture, and so there needs to be a lot of overlap in your pictures. So you want to overlap at least 2/3, if not maybe a little bit more. It's better to overdo the overlapping than not enough. Okay, so that's pretty key. All right, so that's the basics on tips for shooting your panorama. If you want to go back over these, this PowerPoint is in the it's in the grabs folder. I think in the demo folder.